On a quiet Thursday morning, when most of the world was busy with coffee, emails, and traffic jams, something massive appeared in Earth's sky. A golden starship, easily a kilometer long and shaped like a floating temple, slowly descended through the clouds above New York City. It glowed with shimmering energy, casting a strange light across the skyline. The city paused, phones tilted upward. People stared. And then, with a deep, booming hum, a voice echoed through the air, not just in the sky, but across every screen, radio, and smart speaker on the planet. I am Arch-Dominator, Vroth, envoy of the glorious Jarian Imperium, the voice declared. The figure on the screens wore golden robes layered with jewels, his skin a shimmering silver blue, his head crowned with a spinning ring of light. Behind him stood tall armored guards, who looked like something from an ancient war and a science fiction movie at the same time. Earth, you are now a recognized vassal world of the Imperium. Submit peacefully and enjoy the benefits of our empire. Resist and face complete and immediate annihilation. There was a long silence, and then Earth laughed at first. It was just a few giggles on live streams and whispers in crowded living rooms. Then the laughter grew. Internet pages flooded with comments. Is this a Netflix ad? Did Marvel release a new villain? Memes exploded within minutes. Someone photoshopped Vroth's glowing crown into a fast food logo. Another video showed him dramatically pointing at Earth while a pop song played in the background. Hashtags like hashtag VROthvibes and hashtag NotMyOverlord began trending in under an hour. Vroth, watching Earth's reaction from the bridge of his ship, frowned. His advisors whispered urgently. They had expected terror, surrender, perhaps a few last speeches. This strange reaction confused him. Were these creatures ... amused? Earth's leaders, meanwhile, had called an emergency summit, though it was more for show than panic. The United Nations gathered not to prepare for war, but to ask, is this real? Why is he wearing a chandelier? Scientists tried to decode the ship's technology. But many were distracted by the ship's dramatic glowing designs, calling it over-decorated space jewelry. Military leaders monitored the situation cautiously, but even they couldn't help sharing a private chuckle or two. After all, nothing had exploded yet, and the so-called invader sounded more like a stage actor than a warlord. Back on the streets, teenagers filmed themselves challenging Vroth's declarations with dance videos. Some even began dressing like him and parading around malls. A fake Jarian embassy opened in Times Square, where tourists could take selfies with a cardboard cutout of the Arch-Dominator himself. Vroth, still watching, turned to his second-in-command, a sharp-eyed officer named Commander Trask. Why? Are they not kneeling? He asked, genuinely confused. Why do they mock the Imperium? Trask looked down at his datapad and sighed. We believe, Arch-Dominator. They think we are. Entertainment, possibly a prank. A prank? Vroth's voice thundered with disbelief. The Imperium does not prank. We conquer. Yes, sir, but they are difficult to intimidate. Their culture is saturated with sarcasm, irony, and strange humor. They have weaponized laughter. Vroth leaned forward, staring at Earth with narrowed eyes. This is a strategy, a new form of resistance. Psychological warfare, strategic insanity. But it wasn't strategy. Earth simply didn't believe the threat was real. The ship, for all its glowing lights and loud voices, had not attacked. Vroth hadn't vaporized a city, hadn't demanded their leaders kneel. He had, in fact, followed proper diplomatic protocol. And humanity had seen enough alien movies to know that real invasions didn't come with speeches. They came with explosions. As people thought, was clearly just some kind of elaborate stunt. Still, governments remained cautious. Satellites watched the golden ship closely. Fighter jets flew distant loops around it. Messages were sent, but Vroth refused to respond until Earth acknowledged its vassal status. Instead, he began broadcasting his messages globally, every hour, declaring the benefits of submission, peace, prosperity, advanced technology, endless entertainment. As long as humanity agreed to give up its independence, every new broadcast sparked more laughter. Comedians included Vroth in their late-night monologues. News channels debated whether the Imperium was real or an elaborate viral campaign. A famous influencer named Ruby Star made a video declaring herself Queen of Earth and dared Vroth to duel her for the title. The video got 40 million views in 2 hours. Vroth had been turned into a pop culture icon and, not in the way he intended, deep inside his massive ship, Vroth paced. Never before had a species met the Imperium with such a strange reaction. Other worlds had fallen in fear, surrendered before the first shot. But this planet, this Earth, was mocking him. He didn't understand them. Their cities were chaotic, their people even more so. Their information systems were like tangled webs of jokes and arguments. And worst of all, they didn't seem to care about being conquered. Something was wrong. Either Earth was more advanced than they appeared. They were far more dangerous than he had imagined. Either way, the Arch-Dominator now saw this world not as a simple conquest, but as a mystery, one he would have to solve quickly, before laughter turned into something he couldn't control. And above Earth, the great golden ship hovered silently, watching, listening, waiting. Arch-Dominator, Vroth, still recovering from Earth's bizarre and laughter-filled response to his dramatic arrival, decided it was time to proceed with the formal conquest. He followed standard Imperial protocols as any experienced conqueror would. His ship sent official notices of occupation, requests for planetary registration, and authorization forms to begin resource extraction. These were the same forms used on dozens of other conquered worlds approved by the High Imperial Council and written in 17 official galactic languages. However, within minutes of sending them, his messages began bouncing back. The Earth communication systems, while chaotic, were strangely well defended by endless layers of digital forms, auto-replies, and please hold messages. The first Imperial Declaration was rerouted to something called the United Nations Department of Peaceful Space Contact, which turned out to be a tiny office staffed by 3 interns and 1. It's a very tired middle-aged man named Greg. Greg scanned the Imperium's conquest request and, unsure of what box to check, forwarded it to Earth's legal committee for unusual claims, which was currently dealing with a land dispute involving a billionaire who claimed ownership of the moon. Meanwhile, the New York City Airspace Authority issued a citation against Vroth's Golden Starship for unauthorized hovering, labeling it an extreme safety risk and a violation of urban flight regulations. The fine was $875, with a late fee after 30 days. Vroth's confusion turned to frustration when his second attempt at an official planetary declaration was responded to by the United Nations with a politely worded email requesting more details about his intentions, along with a Zoom link to schedule a meeting with Earth's diplomatic representatives. Vroth had never used Zoom before. His advisors struggled to connect the Imperial communication systems to Earth's software, resulting in an awkward transmission where his glowing image froze mid-sentence and a cat filter accidentally activated over his face. Earth viewers were delighted. The video went viral within hours. As Vroth tried to regain control, more complications followed. His claim over Earth was challenged by a coalition of international lawyers who filed a legal complaint under Earth's newly written Interstellar Nuisance Act, a rushed piece of legislation created just days earlier by a committee who weren't entirely sure aliens existed until that week. The legal team demanded evidence that Vroth had proper permits, environmental clearance, and ethical approval to take over a living planet. Vroth was furious. Conquest, in his view, was a matter of strength, not permission. But Earth, it seemed, did not understand or respect the usual rules of war. Every attempt to assert dominance was met with paperwork. One of Vroth's resource scouts tried to land in the Nevada desert and was immediately detained by airport security for lacking a passport. His ship was impounded, and he was told to wait 3 months for a visa interview. Another Imperial drone that attempted to scan a rainforest was shot down, not by a defense missile, but by an angry local environmental activist group who thought it was a corporate drone trying to log illegal trees. At the center of this growing mess was an unexpected Earth hero, Samantha Klein, a clerk at the Department of Motor Vehicles in Kansas. Samantha, who had never left her town or seen a spaceship before, received one of the misdirected conquest documents. Not knowing what else to do, she rejected it for being incomplete, marked it with a red stamp, and filed it under Z, miscellaneous. Her simple act somehow triggered a bureaucratic loop that locked all of the Imperium's digital systems out of Earth's communication network. The Galactic Conquest files were now considered pending local review, and Vroth's top-level orders were placed in something Earth called Q backlog. Vroth's rage grew each day, but every time he tried to escalate another form, another delay occurred, and another Earth department got involved. The Department of Interplanetary Trade insisted on fair trade evaluations. The Global Council on Atmospheric Preservation requested a carbon footprint report on the starship. Even a group of school children sent a petition demanding that the Imperium follow Earth's no-bullying rules. Despite having the technology to destroy planets, Vroth was completely paralyzed, not by weapons, but by red tape. He paced across the bridge of his ship, glaring at reports filled with Earth codes and strange acronyms. Every hour brought a new obstacle. He considered bypassing the entire system and initiating an orbital strike. But even that idea had to be cleared by the Imperial Ethics Committee back home, who were now watching Earth with growing amusement. Some of the High Lords had even begun tuning in to Earth's news broadcasts just to see how badly Vroth was failing. Meanwhile, Earth's public continued to treat the entire situation as the greatest comedy show in history. The idea that a galactic empire with unimaginable power and advanced ships could be blocked by basic administrative delay forms was too absurd to believe, yet it was happening. Diplomats from other worlds, watching from afar, were baffled. One Jarian ambassador quietly admitted, "We have never fought a species like this before. Their defenses are ... exhausting." And so, while Vroth's mighty ship remained motionless above New York, glowing with unused weapons, the planet below carried on with its daily business filing reports, checking boxes, and asking the same question again and again. Did you fill out the correct form? What had begun as a grand conquest was now a tragicomic mess. And the Arch-Dominator was stuck in it, not with resistance fighters or armies, but with lawyers, secretaries, and clerks who had no idea they were winning a war without ever lifting a weapon. After weeks of getting nowhere with Earth's never-ending bureaucracy, Dominator Vroth finally lost patience. He had tried diplomacy, declarations, and a mountain of official documents. None of it had worked. Earth refused to take him seriously, and his mighty Jarian Imperium had been reduced to a joke in viral videos. So he decided to send a message, the old-fashioned way with power. High above the solar system, far from any planets, he selected an uninhabited asteroid as the target. In full view of Earth's satellites and telescopes, Vroth gave the order. The golden ship's main energy cannon fired, releasing a beam of light that cracked through space like lightning and shattered the asteroid into glowing dust. The shock wave was visible from Earth. It was supposed to terrify. It was meant to show the strength of the Imperium. But instead of panic, Earth's reaction was curiosity. Scientists from several countries immediately began analyzing the blast pattern. Within hours, a research group in Switzerland filed a patent for the Jarian spiral wave, claiming it had potential for space mining. An American breakfast company used the same spiral in their new cereal commercial, calling it Cosmic Crunch with a blast of energy. Social media erupted again. Hashtags like #Boomberry and #ZHARI and Kaboom trended overnight. Vroth, expecting fear and silence, got breakfast jokes and product launches. But that wasn't the worst part. Physics professor from India, Dr. Kavita Rao, appeared live on a popular science podcast and calmly explained how the energy beam worked. Using simple models and math, she broke down the weapon's energy curve, speculated on its fuel source, and even suggested improvements. "They're using focused plasma compression," she said, sipping tea. "Impressive design, but a bit inefficient near the outer bands. I'd give it a B+. The Imperium's engineers were horrified. It spent decades building that weapon, and now a human had reviewed it like a gadget on a tech blog." Meanwhile, in a small town in South Korea, a group of teenage gamers decided to recreate the Jarian mothership's control systems using their favorite simulation game, using screenshots, news clips, and a whole lot of guesswork. They built a working model of the ship's bridge, and within days, managed to find several security loopholes just by experimenting. They posted a video explaining how they would theoretically bypass the main firewall and suggested using something called potato packet flooding to confuse the system. Vroth dismissed it as foolish human fiction till his own war console briefly froze and had to be rebooted. His engineers later found traces of a digital ping. From Earth, it didn't damage the system, but it definitely reached it, and then came the AI failure. The Jarian War AI, a massive intelligent program designed to predict enemy behavior and optimize combat, was fed Earth's data to assess human threat levels. It scanned movies, music, online posts, and global history. The results were not what anyone expected. The AI began to glitch. It labeled Earth as a tier unknown species, behavior inconsistent with survival. The AI began drawing wild conclusions. It declared comedy as a military tool, labeled dance as ritual intimidation, and described cat videos as psychological warfare. It showed signs of emotional overload, something it was never designed to experience. Finally, after watching 20 hours of prank videos and reading 5,000 sarcastic comments, the AI simply stopped functioning. It displayed one last message. Error 42. Cannot compute humanity. Vroth stood in stunned silence as his finest piece of artificial strategy broke down not from cyber attack, but from cultural confusion. At this point, Vroth began to question everything he knew about Earth. These humans didn't just ignore his warnings, they analyzed them, joked about them, hacked them, and turned them into entertainment. Their minds didn't follow the patterns he had trained for. They weren't just fearless, they were unpredictable, inventive, and dangerously clever in ways no empire had ever faced. Their power wasn't just in technology or numbers, it was in their thinking. They turned fear into humor, pressure into creativity, and conflict into opportunity. The humans weren't resisting with weapons. They were resisting with curiosity, with science, with imagination. And the worst part, they weren't even trying to fight him. They were simply being themselves, and it was working. From his massive ship above Earth, Vroth began pacing again, no longer shouting, but thinking. His empire had crushed fleets, silenced rebellions, and ruled dozens of galaxies. But now he faced a world where a teenager could cause system interference from a laptop, where a scientist could reverse engineer a war cannon from a live stream, and where even the AI meant to defeat humanity had given up. This wasn't the conquest he had expected. This was something stranger, deeper, and more dangerous. And as he stared down at the glowing blue planet, Vroth finally whispered something he hadn't said in centuries. We may have underestimated them. After realizing that neither bureaucracy nor brute force could break Earth's strange resistance, Arch-Dominator Vroth and his council decided to try something new: cultural conquest. They believed that the Jarian Imperium's advanced art, exquisite cuisine, and profound philosophy would naturally win over humanity's hearts and minds. Surely, a civilization that had mastered the stars would be dazzled by their golden operas, delicately brewed nebula wines, and centuries of thoughtful debate. So, grand events were organized aboard the mothership and broadcast to Earth's performances of Jarian symphonies, displays of their intricate sculpting techniques, and lectures on their complex metaphysical doctrines. But the unexpected happened. Instead of admiration, Earthlings sent back a flood of their own cultural exports. TikTok videos filled with quick dances and memes, pineapple pizza debates that ignited fierce yet playful internet wars, endless sitcom reruns with canned laughter, and karaoke contests where ordinary people sang with passionate, off-key enthusiasm. To the Garian elites, accustomed to formality and perfection, these chaotic human customs were baffling, even irritating, but also strangely addictive. It began subtly. A few officers found themselves hooked on Earth coffee, the bitter dark brew energizing them during long meetings and late nights. They secretly watched cat videos, fascinated by these tiny furry creatures and their unpredictable antics. One of the high-ranking ambassadors, assigned to promote Jarian culture on Earth accidentally posted a video of himself attempting a human dance trend with disastrous but humorous results. The clip went viral, earning him millions of followers overnight and turning him into an unexpected pop star across social media. This accidental fame humbled the Imperium's strict hierarchy and introduced a new kind of chaos to their order. Meanwhile, among the soldiers, morale began to shift in unusual ways. Jarian troops started quoting lines from Earth sitcoms during drills, imitating laugh tracks, and even organizing late-night viewing parties of human comedy shows. The rigid discipline of the Imperium clashed with the lightheartedness of human entertainment. Confused commanders tried to suppress this behavior, but only found it growing. The cultural fabric of the Imperium began to unravel, not through rebellion or battle, but through Earth's infectious creativity and humor. Instead of being conquered, the Jarian society was slowly transformed by Earth's culture. Fracturing under the pressure of spontaneous ideas, jokes, and unexpected connections, Vroth watched these changes with growing unease. He had set out to conquer a planet, but instead, he was witnessing the slow cultural invasion of his own people. What started as a confident campaign of cultural superiority had turned into an uncertain battle for identity. And all the while, Earth laughed and danced on, unaware that they had already won the greatest war of all.